So I promised I wouldn't be giving this guy any more coverage or attention, but I just couldn't resist. I couldn't resist. Vaush, folks, our king of bad faith, who had the most hilarious take on the Rittenhouse case when it came to his debate with Destiny, and his most insane take when it came to self-defense in general during his debate with Destiny on the case, has finally started to chime in on Kyle Rittenhouse and the case that's involved with it. So I wouldn't normally do this, but like everything that Vaush is displaying is what we're seeing from the left wing. A complete disregard for the actual facts of the case, the spewing of just plain lies of material fact when it comes to the case, and then a refusal to engage with the methods by which you would obtain this information. So when the left talks about the Kyle Rittenhouse case, they treat Kyle as just a prioristically guilty. We don't need a trial. We don't need evidence. We don't need facts of the case. All we know is Rittenhouse, not BLM, bad, right? The people that were killed were our guys, therefore other guy, bad, right? And we don't need a trial. We can already convict for homicide, for first degree homicide in these cases. Now, I've actually paid attention to the case. I actually watched the video as it was unfolding, and all of the videos as they were unfolding. I've been the one who's been watching things like Rikita Law, where we have like a dozen or so actual attorneys chiming in on this trial as it's happening, so you can be informed of the actual legal elements of the trial, as well as what's being presented at trial and what new information is being adduced at trial, so you can have a more accurate reflection of what's likely to happen once the jury renders its decision. Now, it is Friday the 12th at 2:30 in the afternoon Eastern, so I believe the court is on a lunch break until we get, and then all that's left before we go into closing arguments is motions. And I totally expect a motion for directed verdict at some point if the defense is not completely incompetent, which it has largely shown itself to be, in terms of everything that they've presented from their side of the case. But we're going to go to Vaush. We're going to bring up the king of bad faith, our friend Captain Smoothbrain Vaush, to give us his take in 2 videos. Yes, we're not only going to give him attention from 1 video, we're going to give him attention in 2 videos. I know. I really shouldn't be doing this. I'm going to go ahead and actually just kind of shrink this just a little bit here. There we go. Right, there we go. That's a little bit better. We're going to go over everything that he says in this first video, because this first video was actually released. The video was released November 10th, but it's extrapolated from a live stream that Vaush did on the 2nd. And then the next video is on Vaush's actual page, because this first video is on a fan's page, YouTube channel, excuse me. The next video we're going to watch is a complete 180 on a lot of the takes that he has in this video. Now, this video is 9 minutes and 33 seconds long. I've watched a good portion of it. The next video is like 21 minutes long. I haven't watched much of that, but it's going to be interesting to see how things change from one video to the next. Maybe we can finally give Vaush some credit for finally changing his position on things now that all of this evidence has become presented in court and it's just completely unavoidable. It was before. I don't know how he didn't get to this point in the first place, but let's enjoy ourselves.
Even all the leftists and political compass memes seem to think Kyle acted in self-defense.
Oh boy, we've got this set to playback speed of 2. Let me reduce this to normal. Let's get our volume to where it ought to be. Make sure I've got...
Even all the leftists on political compass memes seem to think Kyle acted in self-defense. There's no way we're winning this. What's going to happen in the Kyle Rittenhouse case? Okay, guys, I've said this before. I think I even said this right after Kyle Rittenhouse happened, like the whole thing. There is a decent chance that he walks, okay? Now, I want to be clear about that.
A decent chance.
Okay? There's a reason why that is. That's because a lot of the specific legal... the technicalities which are particular to whether or not you can justify your behavior with a claim of self-defense, they are blind to some of the circumstances that are morally biasing our perspective here. Okay? So is Kyle Rittenhouse a shitter? Yes, that's objective. You can talk to God, I asked him. Is Kyle Rittenhouse a racist?
Oh my God. So the reason he's saying that he's going to walk has nothing to do with the facts of the case clearly line up with self-defense. It's not going to be any of that. It's not that. It's that gobbledygook. That string there, he has to go from New York to London to make it to L.A., right? You're flying from New York to London to make it to Philadelphia. Right, sure. It wasn't just that there's a mountain of video evidence that shows everything that happened that day from multiple camera angles, and there's no such thing as self-defense if this isn't self-defense.
Again, I asked God, and he said yes.
Is Kyle
Rittenhouse
racist?
Cases
okay, sure.
associated with the deaths that took place on that day correspond to what we would legally consider to be self-defense.
Because in this case, it's so obvious that he was acting in colloquial self-defense that you cannot build a legal framework that allows for this sort of thing to actually exist as self-defense without just saying there is no such thing as self-defense in the courts. Right? Vaush has intimated that his standard of self-defense is you're not allowed to defend yourself until you're already dead. Vaush, in that debate with Destiny, was the one that came out and said you should succumb to the coin flip of a lynch mob if you're a black man in the 1930s who's been accused by a white woman of raping her, right? Pitchforks and torches, they're chasing him down. It's a bunch of white guys in southern Alabama in the 1930s. According to Vaush, that guy should succumb to the mob, succumb to the coin flip that he described as the mob. Yes, that was good faith Vaush. Good faith Vaush, and good on Destiny for calling him out on that one too. Yeah.
Well, that really depends. It depends on how good the prosecution and defense can argue their cases. This is one of those circumstances where law and morality do not perfectly overlap with each other. Okay? I've talked about this before at the beginning of the stream, and I'll talk about it again now. Let's talk about something that is morally wrong, but legally defensible. Okay? Now,
what? Time out. No, hold on. Self-defense is always morally and legally defensible. You're defending yourself, right? Right. The whole point of your body, your choice, right? The whole point of that argument is you get to do with your body what you want, and people can't interfere with that. I would say somebody actively attempting to kill you is interfering with that. We can do this on principle. We don't have to do this on a legal standard. And his standard of he's building the moral framework backwards. He just said that whether or not he acted in self-defense is dependent on how well the attorneys present their cases. No, he acted in self-defense because the evidence already shows that that's how he acted. Jesus Christ. We don't derive our moral prescriptions based on the outcomes of a trial, right?
If a person breaks into your home in America, you pretty much have the right to kill them. That's
okay. So
that's pretty much what we've got here. And there's a good reason for that. Imagine being in your home and you hear a window break and feet scuffling on the ground somewhere downstairs. This is not a situation where most people have either the training or the wherewithal to assess the threat being done to your home. What if you have family? What if you sleep on the second floor, and on the first floor you know your daughter is sleeping, and the window break happened on the first floor? No jury would criticize you for bringing your gun with you as you headed down the stairs. That's just how it is here. And
Why? Why would no jury criticize you for that? You've got somebody who has already acted in a violent manner. They've already smashed in your window and broken into your house. They've already shown a reckless disregard for the right you have to your property. They've already shown that they are going to disregard rational behavior. So there's a really great chance that they're going to act irrationally in regards to either the rest of your property or your person. And your property is an extension of your person, right? That's why private property rights exist. You mix your blood with the soil. You mix your labor with the soil that you own. And therefore, everything that comes out on the other end includes an element of your labor. And the example of a house that you exchange currency, which in the end represents the labor that you have engaged in and or the equivalent value thereof. Adam Smith, which I have right there, that's why this is the case. It has nothing to do with what he's talking about. It has nothing to do with an inability to properly assess, to properly perform a risk calculation. This isn't some sort of mutually assured destruction situation. No, you have a right to defend yourself, right? And yourself is extended to your property, so you have a right to defend your property. Therefore, if somebody breaks into your property and they've already shown that they're willing to engage in this manner, then probably not a bad idea to carry a bat with you. Probably not a bad idea to carry a gun with you, because that person isn't going to respond to, hey man, you broke into my house. Let's have a debate about whether or not you should have done that, right? They're not going to do that. They've already shown that they're not going to do that. So, how many times do you have to play with a snake and let it bite you before you realize you don't fucking play with a snake, right? If I reach down, I play with the snake and it bites me, I go to the emergency room, right? I get the antivenom, come back, play with the snake again, and it bites me. And I have to go to the emergency room and get antivenom. And, there's weeks of recovery involved in all of this because, this is a highly venomous snake, let's say, right? Well, and every single time I do this, I have to go to the hospital and miss out on work. At what point do I stop playing with the snake? At what point do I say, the snake has teeth and fangs and venom? And if I keep playing with the snake is going to use its teeth, its fangs, its venom to defend itself. At what point am I going to say, if I'm going to go into this battle with the snake, maybe I start protecting myself because the snake's going to act in this manner? It's already shown that it's going to act in this manner. I don't even have to use a snake. I can use somebody breaking into my house. He's already broken into my house. Therefore, simple as.
I think that's defensible. Now, the specifics of this is not legal advice, so don't go ahead shooting everyone who knocks on your door. I'm just saying that there are good excuses for self-defense in those cases. There's a reason
because
civilized
it's self-defense.
Countries don't let you murder people. Well, in this case, it wouldn't be murder. If it's self-defense, it's not murder. It's
hey, he gets one right. He gets one right.
That's justifiable. Now,
he gets one right. It's only been 8 years that he's been on the internet, and he gets one right. So we'll give credit where it's due. Yes, self-defense is not murder. This is somebody who should be in calculus by now and is finally getting that 2 is 1 more than 1.
Now, it is true that on average, having a gun in your home increases the likelihood of your family getting hurt. But
no, it isn't.
I think.
Wait a minute. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. This is incredibly easily verified. Where you in the counties where you have more gun ownership, right? You actually have lower homicide rates. When you have gun injuries and deaths in the home where there are firearms, it doesn't increase. It doesn't decrease safety, right? You have to compare those homes that have the gun in the home to homes that have guns in the home, in the sense that, why would you have a gun in the home in the first place? Why does somebody who lives in the South Bronx have a gun in the home? Why does somebody who lives in Southside Chicago have a gun in the home? Why does somebody who lives in Baltimore have a gun in the home? Would they have been safer without the gun? Or would they be less likely to have been broken into without the gun? If they get broken into, are they less likely to have their property just damaged? Is there less of a risk that whoever is already willing to smash in their window and break in their house is going to shoot them? Is that the case? Because when you actually control for that independent variable, because you're supposed to control for independent variables in the scientific method, now you find out, no, actually that's just not true.
You have a legal right to use lethal force to defend yourself against people breaking in. If somebody breaks in at night, lo and dare, we're not talking about trespassing. We're talking about breaking and entering. We're not talking about people on your lawn. We're talking about people breaking into your home. If somebody breaks into your home,
True.
How can you determine if they pose a lethal threat to you? You can't. How? How would you determine that? Fire a warning shot? Warning shots are not a real thing.
Okay, real quick. He's talking about he's being pedantically literal when he refers to intent here. He is the guy that has repeatedly said that, well, it's impossible to perfectly know someone's intent. Yeah, well, yeah, I suppose if we're going to look at intent and the concept of knowing through the lens of Rene Descartes, yeah, I suppose that there is a way that intent has to be inferred rather than deduced. True. But I mean, at some point there has to be an oh come on moment, right? If somebody smashes in your window, puts a bullet in your daughter's head, puts a bullet in your other daughter's head, puts a bullet in your second, third, final daughter's head, puts a bullet in your wife's head, and then turns around and you know there's another bullet in the chamber and points their gun right at you and says, I'm going to kill you right now. Like, I realize that we have to infer from their behavior what their intentions are, which in this case would be obviously that they're going to kill you. So this response, how do you know they're going to? It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant to establish this sort of like what I think it's apodactic. I think is the word I'm looking for. Standard. No, you can't know in the way that Vaush uses the word no. Generally speaking, that somebody is going what somebody's intentions are. Period. So that's an irrelevant question.
Ask them. Oh, no.
Okay, yeah, this is ridiculous. This is idiotic.
You know, I actually had a law-adjacent class once where I actually gave the answer people in chat gave, and I got chewed out for it by the professor. This actually happened to me live. When I was in community college, I was talking about stuff like this with, initially my major was political science, and there was some class that taught some law stuff, and we were talking about this specific thing. The right to self-defense if your house is broken into. And I said, well, you shouldn't be able to use lethal force. You can use warning shots or you can try to shoot them in the leg or something, but I don't think you should be able to kill them. And I got chewed out for several minutes for being wrong. And since then, I have stopped being wrong. I'm sorry, guys, but unless you've experienced this yourself, or I guess know how it would work in real life, or just kind of have a feeling for precedent, if a person breaks into your house, and they have a gun, by the time you ask them, they could have already shot you. The thing is, in the United States, we have kind of a mutual threat obligation when it comes to breaking into a person's house. See, everyone knows that you can be shot for breaking into a house. So if a person breaks into your house, they know they're risking their life to do it. And if they're...
Oh my God, he's going for the mutually assured destruction. He's going for mutually... This is not the grounds for self-defense. I already gave you the grounds for self-defense. You have a right to yourself. Therefore, you have a right to defend yourself. And if that requires the use of deadly force, then you have that right to do it, period. Your property is an extension of yourself. So if you are on your property and somebody's broken into your property, they've shown a propensity to do the thing, right? They've shown a propensity towards violence to you and to your home. So you have a right to bring the gun with you. Besides, it's your gun. You get to carry it wherever you go. Right? Like, I mean, it's your property. Therefore, it is an extension of you. Anywhere where you get to be, your property gets to be as well. Sorry, not sorry, right? Like, I realize on somebody else's property, right? Because we're no longer dealing with your property, right? Anywhere where they may allow you on, but they wouldn't allow your gun on. But otherwise, anywhere where you're allowed, your property is allowed. Anywhere where your body is allowed, the clothing you're wearing is allowed. I mean, like, we don't need to have the mutually assured destruction case here, Vaush. I mean, come on. Like, that is not the grounds on which self-defense exists. Not morally and not legally.
Risking their life to do it, that probably means they're willing to fight to defend themselves, too.
Fair.
Right? That makes sense. What idiot would break into a house in the middle of the night without some sort of ability, some tool, some weapon, to kill people who might kill them? This is just the mutual expectation we hold. And I think it's perfectly okay. Your house should be considered safe. Your house should be something that you have an expectation people will not intrude upon. So legally, if a person breaks in and you shoot them, it's going to be ruled self-defense, I imagine. Assuming the factors of the case are consistent and reasonable. But morally, there's a lot of ambiguity there. Morally, it's possible for you to shoot and kill somebody in self-defense if they've broken into your house, even after you've assessed they have no weapon. It's possible for you to kill a person you know is unarmed, which I would say is morally dicey at best, if they've broken into your house even.
No.
But legally, it'd still be considered self-defense. So you can believe two things simultaneously without any contradictions. Kyle Rittenhouse might get off, but I still think what he did was wrong. And the thing that I think that he did was wrong has more to do with going to a civil rights protest with a weapon to intimidate and to posture and to antagonize.
Okay. He didn't go to the protest with the AR-15. He didn't go there to posture, intimidate, and etc., what he just said. He went there to provide medical help. And I know that everyone's going to say, no, he didn't. No. Kyle Rittenhouse lives something like 15 to 25 minutes away from where the shooting happened, right? 15 to 25 minutes away from me, where I live, is still a town where I live in certain places. It's a huge town and area. It's one town over at most, from where I am right now, right? It's one town over at most. I may be able to get across the state line in 25 minutes. Barely. That's still definitely part of this community. That's still absolutely definitely part of this community. And I know these people that live that distance away. My brother lives about 25 minutes away from where I live. Yeah, that's how these communities work. And I know what everyone's going to say. Oh, how do you know he did? That's what his intentions were. Okay, he went there in the middle of the day. Right? Unarmed, and was cleaning graffiti throughout the middle of the day, and was offering medical support throughout the course of the day. It wasn't until night fell that someone came to him and said, you should really consider carrying this firearm. You should really consider protecting yourself, because when the night falls, that's when the riots start. That's when your life becomes perilously at risk by virtue of you not being a rioter. You are not a rioter, therefore your life is in perilous risk. So let's get this. So he's already gotten the facts of the case wrong. He's already gotten the facts wrong. He didn't go to Kenosha with the firearm. The firearm was given to him that day. And in fact, after night fell, from somebody who he had no idea was going to be giving him that gun. And it wasn't even he was saying you should carry this gun. This is facts that have been adduced at trial, so hopefully you've paid attention to the trial now, Vaush. I know this video was released on November 2nd, but maybe your position's changed. Let's see if it does. Well, we kind of knew this from the start anyways, because we already knew that he didn't get the firearm until he got there. But what's been revealed at trial, what's been adduced at trial now, is that no, he didn't request the gun. Somebody told him he should be carrying protection, asked him if he had a firearm. He said no, and they said, you should take mine. You should take this one. That's what actually happened. And again, it wasn't until nightfall that happened. And it wasn't until that point that there was any conversation whatsoever about him going to some place to help protect that place from the mob. By the way, the mob, that place being a place that he was like a block or two away from anyways. Like, that's not going completely out of your way. He's 17 years old. Would I tell my 17-year-old to do that? No. Nope. But it wasn't like he violated curfew in the first place by getting there. He got there in the middle of the day, in the middle of the afternoon, and happened to overstay. That's where the curfew kicked in. And that's by the way, from what I understand, and that's why the prosecuting attorney is going to have a hell of a time with that curfew case, and the fact that, like, who knows if the curfew was even legally issued? And there's a lot of evidence to suggest that the issuance of the curfew wasn't legal in the first place. But we've already the two things that he said about the facts of the case already false. 0 for 2 already.
To put himself and other people in a situation which exacerbates the threat level and increases the likelihood of harm.
Every tree climber ever does this every day. Everyone. Every single tree climber ever. Every crab fisherman ever. Every person who signs up for the police ever. Every person who signs up for the military ever. So when and this is something I do, when I'm roped up in a tree, 60 feet in the air with a chainsaw. Unbelievably dangerous situation that I've put myself into and that I don't have to. I own the business. I don't have to go up there and do that. I could say no. I could tell I could tell my clients, sorry, find someone else. I could do that. But I don't. So while I'm up in the tree, do I lose my right to self-defense there, Vaush? This is another one of these arguments that's being promulgated by the left here. It's just absolutely insane, like completely moronic. Just because you've gone into a situation, you've entered into a situation where the risk is higher than it would be otherwise. Anyone who gets out of a car in West Baltimore at night, anyone who gets out of a car in West Baltimore at nightfall. I lived in horrifically awful and unbelievably dangerous ghettos in Savannah, Georgia. Like insanely high murder rates, like Juarez, Mexico level murder rates. Not in the city itself as a whole, but in these pockets, right? I lived there. I absolutely lived there. I went to bed at night to the sound of gunshots every night because that's how bad it was. By stepping outside my door, by riding my bicycle home from work at night, which I had to do, I've exposed myself to a certain level of risk, so succumb to the mob.
That's what I think was wrong. And depending on the facts of the case, which are not fully known to us,
oh my
I haven't
God,
been watching the proceedings. According to the facts of the case, it may well be the case that in spite of all that, his exercise of self-defense was legitimate. It may be the case that it wasn't.
How do you lose? He just said it right there. You lose your right to self-defense by virtue of voluntarily entering a high-risk situation. Anyone who gets on a crab boat automatically loses their right to self-defense. Anyone. This is insane. This is a genuinely insane take. And there's a reason this is not the legal standard. Because this is an abhorrent moral standard too. Like, This is like second grade level ethics. Like second grade level ethics. It's that hard. It's so easy to debunk this that I can say anytime I go up into a tree with a chainsaw dangling by a rope 60 feet in the air, I lose my right to self-defense. Right? Well, I've entered a dangerous situation. A really high-risk situation.
That he wants it to be self-defense, but it wasn't. These are the ambiguities that have kept me from making strong cases on the legal situation with regards to Kyle Rittenhouse.
Oh my
yes,
God.
Dave Rubin, or Rave Dubin, that is a crime. I'm not arguing against that. No, yes, the crossing state lines with the gun thing, that I'm not arguing against that. We're talking about...
But it didn't happen! It didn't happen! He didn't cross the state line with a firearm. He didn't get the AR-15 until he was already in Kenosha 4 hours. God damn it, There's words I want to say. Words I want to use for Vaush here that I'm not allowed to use. Because YouTube.
We're talking about the self-defense argument. Stand your ground laws are super fucked up. I'm talking about castle doctrine laws, not stand your ground laws. But yeah, stand your ground laws do seem to significantly increase the number of people who die in the states that in the states that have them. There are state by state variances on the castle doctrine. So again, nothing that I've said here is legal advice. I'm only saying what is generally considered to be the law.
That is an incredibly dubious claim. That states where you have a stand your ground law, the law itself causes or at least directly results in more deaths because of it. I'd love to see our Wikipedia scholar here pull up any sort of evidence to support that claim. I'd love it. I'd love to hear that positive claim get supported in any way because I know it's going to happen. He's going to come up with something that did absolutely no independent variable control, and I know this because I've done this before with him. Does absolutely no independent variable control and should just be completely discredited on that basis. It's one of these things where he goes to Wikipedia, finds out his answer, goes to the citation, doesn't read the citation, and just into his retard. Almost said it. Into his idiotic, moronic, useless Google Doc.
Castle doctrine is also fucked. Well, it's not perfect, but A castle doctrine is a legal doctrine that designates a person's abode or any legally occupied place, for example, a vehicle or home. You can sleep in your car.
Oh my God. Oh my God. We got to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. Ready? Wikipedia. Castle doctrine is a legal doctrine that designates a person's abode or any legal occupied place, for example, a vehicle or a home, as a place in which the person, he just went straight. Oh, this is so good. I just called him a Wikipedia scholar. And the first thing he does is go to Wikipedia. Oh, this is so good. This is so good. To be fair, this is probably what I would go to when I say castle doctrine. Either that or I'd go up to one of my law books back there and pull out the law book that says castle doctrine. But at the same time, this is just hilarious.
As a place in which that person has protections and immunities permitting one in certain circumstances to use up to deadly force to defend yourself against an intruder, free from legal prosecution for the consequences of the force used. The term is most commonly used in the United States, though many other countries invoke comparable principles in their laws. Depending on the location, a person may have a duty to retreat to avoid violence if one can reasonably do so. Castle doctrines lessen the duty to retreat when an individual is assaulted within your own home. Deadly force may either be justified, the burdens of production and proof for charges impeded, or an affirmative defense against criminal homicide applicable when, in cases, the actor reasonably fears imminent peril of death or serious bodily harm to him or herself or another. So if a person breaks into your house in the middle of the night, that is pretty much automatically an actor reasonably fearing imminent peril of death or serious bodily harm to him, herself, or another. That would be pretty automatically that, you know. But again, I'm not a lawyer. Do you support business owners killing rioters trying to destroy or damage his businesses? While there are cases where I think you could possibly make an argument for that, I don't think they're even remotely the same thing. You're in your house because it's your house. You live there. You're in your house. When you defend it, it's because they're coming into your house. It's your...
How do you live in said house? How do you live in said house? What is the thing that allows you to have that house? Your business, Vaush. Your business. This is why if you have an addition in your room, in your house, say an extra room for you to record YouTube videos, a studio attached to your home, and all you do is operate your business in there. Is that any different from your home? Is there really a difference? Is there a really difference between personal and private property? Vaush? Yeah. No, there isn't. This is a distinction without a difference.
Your house. A business is not your house. But if you sleep in your business, or if you're in that place and you don't really have the ability to
sleep there,
retreat, then you could argue that your duty to retreat is being impeded by the circumstances of the case. But there is a fundamentally different thing here. All right, hold on. Once again,
no,
I'm
it's
not a
not.
lawyer. Let's just move on with the donos, okay?
Okay, he's just going to be reading donos. Okay, hold on. Let me see if there's anything
I'm making is that it's possible to acknowledge are non-binary people above the law? Yes. Non-binary people are legally immune to all forms of prosecution.
Probably a joke. So we'll not talk about that. So this is Vaush's. So now what we're going to do, now what we're going to talk about is the follow-up. So this is where he was on November 2nd when it comes to this, right? When it comes to the Rittenhouse case. This next video is a much longer video, so we're probably going to watch this at 1.5 speed just to get through it quicker. But remember, everything that he's talked about in terms of the actual facts of the case so far is false. Verifiably and easily checked as false. Rittenhouse did not bring that firearm across state lines. He didn't even bring it to Kenosha. He didn't get to Kenosha in the middle of the night. He got there in the middle of the day and was there for hours doing things like cleaning up graffiti and offering his services as a medic before someone came to him with the AR and said, "You should protect yourself. Do you have a gun? No. Well, then take my AR-15. So far, Vaush is completely wrong on the facts of the case, and he's still only barely budged from his position on self-defense. He's using a position self-defense as like a pragmatic answer and a mutually assured a pragmatic answer as part of mutually assured destruction. Right? Like, his only rationale for self-defense is mutually assured destruction. It has nothing to do with things like my body, my choice. You don't get to interfere with my body. You don't get to put lead inside my chest. and I'm allowed to prevent you from doing that. And if that means that I got to put lead in your chest so that you don't put lead in my chest, well, there are cases where that's the case. There are places where that's the case, excuse me. So let's see if anything has changed this video was released November 11th, so that's 9 days. The trial's been going on this whole time. It's November 12th today. This video was released yesterday. The trial was, for all intents and purposes, over save for rebuttal and motions as of yesterday already. So, and Kyle's already, by the way, had the chance to take the stand. Has already taken the stand, and there's already been cross-examination for which Binger should be disbarred. I'll say it, because Binger revealed in that cross-examination that this is a bad faith attempt, that this is not a service to justice. Binger revealed, the most important thing that Binger revealed in the cross is that he knows Kyle's innocent. I didn't say he knows Kyle's not guilty. I said he knows Kyle's innocent, and yet he's still pursuing this. As evidence, of course, and we're not going to get too much into the trial itself, but as evidence, of course, by the fact that Binger was openly lying to Kyle about facts of the case. Openly lying to Kyle and misrepresenting claims and facts that were adduced by his own witnesses during direct. So we know that this is in bad faith. We know he was violating the rules of the courtroom nonstop with that cross-examination, and he knew it. Right? And for some reason, the defense attorney wasn't raising objections during that entire cross. I think there were maybe 4 or 5 objections, maybe 6 objections raised during the entire cross, when it should be almost every question based on the way Binger was handling the cross, right? But that's what's been revealed. That was what was revealed at the cross, is that this is just bad faith prosecution. And in my opinion, absolutely, you have a duty to exercise prosecutorial discretion. This is the most, if there is such a thing as prosecutorial malpractice, this is it. And if this isn't prosecutorial malpractice, there is no such thing. The DA in the Duke boys lacrosse case was disbarred for much less. In this case, there's no way that the DA doesn't know Kyle's innocent, and yet he's still pursuing this case. So, to me, it wasn't until the cross-examination of Kyle Rittenhouse that I thought Binger should be disbarred. But the point is, the trial's been going on, and the trial's been going on long enough that somebody like me, a layman, can pay attention to, say, about 50% of it, because these proceedings are like 9.5 hours long, right? So there's no way for me to pay attention to 9.5 hours of video all day or a day, though I've made an effort. I've made a conscientious effort to pay attention as much as I possibly can to this trial. Let's see what Vaush has done. Let's see if Vaush has paid any attention whatsoever to this trial, and to see if the facts that have been adduced at trial, such as the fact that he wasn't given the AR-15 until hours after he got there, and that it wasn't until somebody basically pressured him into taking the AR-15 that he conceded the point. So let's see if Vaush has done any of this. Let's see if Vaush has done his homework, or if he's just going to be a Wikipedia scholar.
Perpetual victimhood is the engine that conservatives use to justify the violence that they enact against others. The stuff conservatives fight for and enact, it can only be morally justified to them if they are constantly the victims of a war that they are fighting against.
So right off the bat, poisoning the well. I know that's the editor that put that in there like that, but right off the bat, poisoning the well. Just what we need. Just what we need from a good faith actor.
Okay, my Kyle Rittenhouse take. Okay, so to prepare for this segment...
Yes, we are watching at 1.5 speed. I'll adjust if needed.
I have gone all out to educate myself on all the nuances of the trial. I've done this by watching 0 minutes of the trial.
So he's going to offer an opinion based on nothing. Nothing. This is the guy that we know that's acting in the highest level of good faith. Poisoned the well, and then already said 2 seconds in, no homework done.
I know nothing. My head is empty. I know absolutely nothing. Now, what that means is that I have a unique perspective untainted by the flaws and biases of our judicial system. Now, that's what we would call...
But if their biases are there, then you can see them. If you're the one saying it's biased, you're the one that can see them and can see through them. If you're the one hearing the dog whistle, you're the dog. Like, I love this justification. I can't tell if he's joking or not. Honestly. Like if I were to say something like this, I wouldn't say it in so obviously and nakedly pretentious a term, right? Like the pretentiousness of the way he phrases this is just hilarious. The reason I wouldn't say this in so pretentious a manner if I was joking is to make it obvious I'm joking. But hey, we've got Vaush's history, so there's no way to know if this is a joke or not.
From the mind of babes, my baby brain. Quit spamming Roman Jesus. No, in all seriousness, I've seen a couple of things. So as far as I can tell, let's get the technicalities out of the way here. Hold on. All them charges. Right. So from what I've seen, it seems like there's just about no way that Kyle Rittenhouse is getting cuckarinoed with the first-degree reckless homicide. The murder charges, it just ain't happening. And from what I can see, it seems like that's legally defensible. Or I should say, the case that those charges would be dropped on account of self-defense, from what I've seen, it seems like that is the case. I'd be very surprised if he was convicted on those charges. If he does get exonerated of those charges, I don't think it's indicative of like a rigged outcome. I don't think it's like a bias. Like, I know the judge has been weird, but I don't think it means the judge is like...
Holy shit! What a complete 180! What a complete 180! So, credit where it's due. Now that it's completely unavoidable, now that it's so obvious that there's now that the tidal wave of lava has already consumed his body, he's willing to admit that the volcano has erupted.
I don't think it was like some crazy conspiracy. It seems likely to me that he's going to get off on those charges, at least.
But hey, credit where it's due, right?
There's some other stuff like the first degree recklessly endangering safety, use of a dangerous weapon, the curfew, possession of a dangerous weapon by a person under 18. He might get those. He probably will. They seem pretty objectively the case. No. First things first, you're going to have
a very hard time with the curfew. And second thing, there's no evidence that's been produced at trial that he violated specifically the possession of a firearm when you're under 18. And by the way, there are already affirmative defenses built into that legislation. And Kyle's self-defense case seems like a pretty obvious example of an exception to that rule. The fact that he's pleading self-defense alone is an affirmative defense of that case. So if you're willing to agree, Vaush, that he was acting in self-defense, then no, the gun charges should be dropped. Period. They just should be dropped. And the reckless endangerment case is just absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely insane. The reckless endangerment charge is basically where if he were to defend himself, right, it'd be somebody who's coming at him 30 feet away and he's doing the old close my eyes and pow, 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 pow. That's reckless endangerment, right? Right? Reckless endangerment would be firing into a crowd. Right? And who gives a damn who I wind up killing, right? Now, obviously you could unload into a crowd if the whole mob is acting like a mob, right? Obviously you can just unload if there's a lynch mob coming after you, right? 500 people in southern Alabama in the 1930s who are all white carrying pitchforks and torches, right? And they're charging after you because supposedly you raped a little white girl, and it's a false charge. You weren't even there. You weren't there. Couldn't have possibly happened. And you're running away, and they're continuing to pursue. And then you turn around with your gun and you point at them and say, "Stop pursuing me." And they continue to pursue, and they lunge at you after they've gotten you cornered. And they lunge at your gun. They act like you're gonna all of them all at once, like World War Z. The zombies are climbing up the wall, right? Yeah, no, you get to just unload. That's how that works. Sound familiar, Vaush? By the way, that hypothetical I just put out, does that hypothetical sound familiar? Have you discussed this before with, say, another gigantic YouTube streamer?
But that's obviously not what we care about, right? So for me, the reason why I haven't been talking about Kyle Rittenhouse that much is because the technicalities of the self-defense charge aren't really that interesting to me, They aren't really kind of like the point.
They are the point! The trial is a self-defense case! Are you kidding me? How out of touch are you? It's a self-defense case, but the self-defense case doesn't bother me. It doesn't interest me. That's why I want to talk about this, the self-defense case. And I'm not going to concern myself with the self-defense.
In my the curfew citation's been dropped already? Oh, didn't know that. Yes, gotcha. Never mind on that.
Hey, maybe that was a part of the trial I missed. I didn't see that. But hey, if the curfew citation's already been dismissed, then Vaush, you just lost. You just lost on the only 3 charges that you even considered being feasible.
They're not really the big kicker to me, Let's talk about what Kyle Rittenhouse did, okay? Or what about Kyle Rittenhouse's behavior alarms me? It seems like from the evidence presented, the self-defense claim will probably exonerate him of the murder cases. So, we have that. But
that's 2/3 of the charges. That's 2/3 of the charges, and they're the murder charges. Never mind all this. Nothing to see here, right? Like I shot up every single person in the elevator. But what you're really concerned with is the fact that I farted in the elevator. Like, it's really why were you farting in the elevator in the first place? Never mind. No, I'm not really interested in you. You know, I'm not really interested in Ray Rice beating up his wife, right? But I am interested in him farting in the elevator. I am interested in that.
To me, the broader issue with Rittenhouse is all the stuff like surrounding the killings that took place, the deaths that took place, right? I mean, like, what mind state do you have to be in as a young person to like run out there, illegally acquire a firearm to...
That's not been, no, that's, no, like, he doesn't know anything about firearms ownership. He doesn't know anything about the law and its exceptions in Wisconsin. Like, if somebody breaks into your home and shoots up your entire family, no, I don't get to hold the gun. I don't get to own it. I don't get to pick up my father's gun and shoot the guy who just shot up my entire family. He's about to shoot me. No, I'm under 18. I die. Right? I'm in the middle of a street doing my own thing. There's a gun on the ground right in front of me. Right? I'm 17. And all of a sudden, bullets start flying. And I've already taken 2 or 3 of them, say, to the leg and arms. Right? Bullets are flying from behind me. And I turn around and there's a mob coming after me. Do I get to pick up that gun? Do I get to pick up that gun? Or do I not? According to Vaush, no, I don't get to pick up that gun. Derp, not true.
Open carry at a protest to defend property. Like, this to me is a component of some of the most dangerous and destructive tendencies of American gun culture, you know? Now, anyone who watches this stream should know, I love guns. I love self-defense. I was on stream just a few days ago yelling at lefties who didn't believe that you should be able to kill people to break into your house. I am very much pro-gun rights, so this is very much not an attack on people's right.
This isn't going to be a deflection, is it? No.
To possess firearms. With that being said, I want to be totally clear. Open carrying at protests is cancer like 99% of the time, okay?
Really? 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 It's cancer 99% of the time. How so? How so? Right? Like, if you know that there's going to be a destructive mob that's going to murder everyone in sight, and you want to be there to say, you know what, these guys are wrong. I'm not supposed to carry a gun to that? Or I'm supposed to be like, no, I'm not going to get myself involved. I'm not going to be the one that say, no, you guys are going to be wrong. Let them destroy the city. Let them right through, destroy the city. Destroy the community that I've tied myself to. No, not going to show up to that, right? Now, he was 17. He was technically still in high school. If he was my son, I would have implored him not to go. I would have. True. But this is burying the lead. This is burying the lead underneath Mount fucking Everest. Like, maybe he expands on this.
The Black Panther Party did a good job with it. They were very disciplined and orderly. 99% of the time, open carrying at protests is the behavior of bitch babies who are using the gun as a penis extension.
Oh, you mean like the Black Panthers? Oh, wait, no. Nobody was shot by the Black Panthers in his example, right? They didn't actually shoot anyone. Nothing here. So then, how about the other 99.9999999% of the time where somebody's open carrying at a protest? Are they bitch babies with small dicks? Or, I mean, we've got an obvious conflict here. An internal conflict in your own logic right here.
In an effort to terrorize often minority groups, okay?
In an effort to often terrorize minority groups. Or is it because they know what's going to happen to them? Or is it because, you know, when you have these anti-mask and lockdown protests, they know what's going to happen to them because of their own political ideology from the other side. There's a reason that I went to Concord, New Hampshire, and everyone there was armed to the teeth. Everyone. How many bullets were fired? Bagel. I went to the anti-lockdown protests in Nashville, obviously just to cover them because that's what I do. I have a camera, so I was covering them, right? Armed to the teeth. Like half the people there were armed to the teeth, open carrying. How many shots were fired? 0. And if they really were just hell-bent on shooting minorities, there were minorities at both of those protests. At both of them. They spoke publicly. Why didn't they get shot? Why was it that they didn't get shot? Right? Nashville, Tennessee is loaded with minorities. There were plenty of minorities just driving by, caring about their business. Why weren't they shot? Why not, Vaush?
here, okay? All of the fucking pseudo-tactical wannabe Border Patrol fucks who run around protests with their AR-15 and their tactical whatever. This, to me, this is the worst part of American gun culture for a few reasons. First of all, it does not make the world safer. Anyone who believes that it does is delusional. The idea that an armed society is a polite society is one which is not borne out in any data. Thank you.
Oh my God, are we going to do this? We have to do this. An armed society isn't one that's... Okay. Yeah. Let's do it. Let's do it. Homicide rate, gun ownership rate, county, United States. I'm going to show you the work. Images. We'll just go straight to images. Where is it? We want to do it by county. There it is. Boom. Guns per person versus gun homicide rate. On the left, you have the most armed count. The most... this is across the U.S., across time. Sources, Center for Disease Control, the CDC, and Congressional Research Service. So, on the right, we have the U.S., way more guns per person. On the left, you have the U.S., way less guns per person. Okay? Maybe this is the wrong way to go about this. I want to get county by county because that graph is hilarious. That graph is hilarious. Let's do this. Murder rate versus gun ownership rate by U.S. state. Strong correlation there, right? Homicide rate with firearm per 100,000 population. So, on the right, we have is the percent of population owning a firearm. All the way over here. That's all these people that own firearms. We get the murder rate. Bing, 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 bing. Yeah. Doesn't seem to be much of a correlation there. Doesn't seem that Vaush's argument is true. Let's do this one. Realclearscience.com doesn't cite their sources, but homicide rate per 100,000 people. Way, oh my God, here we go. Homicide rate. So this is the guns per 100 people. United States, a complete outlier compared to the rest of the world. Kind of average in terms of firearm homicide. You know? Kind of right in the middle. The R-squared values on this graph is ridiculously low. Which means that there isn't a correlation. And by the way, the most heavily armed society in the world, not a whole lot of gun deaths. Not a whole lot of homicides by firearm. Okay. I want to see the county by county breakdown. I want to see let's see if we can do it by county. By county. Let's put this in air quotes. Let's make sure we can get this by county. Okay, those are gun deaths. We're talking about homicides. That's what he said. Okay, so I'm having a hard time finding this broken down by county. Yeah, maybe it's in the all results. No, I'm not seeing the. Yeah, no, I'm not seeing where it is. But either way, that was 3 graphs already. Completely discredits his claim. But yeah, if you actually break down, I've seen the chart before. If you break down gun ownership rates by county in the United States, the counties with the highest homicide rates are the counties with the lowest gun ownership rates. Oh, you know what else we could do? We could do gun control. What's it called? Brady score by county versus homicide rate. States with strict gun laws see increase in homicides. Yeah, okay. Okay. The first result. Brady score versus murder rate. Well, that's just an image from Reddit, so I guess we can throw that away. But still, that's Brady score and homicide rate. California has the highest ranking for gun control on the Brady score. Brady campaign state scorecard. The higher the score, the greater the gun control policies in the United States. Arizona has had the lowest since rankings were created in 2013. Sources. The Brady campaign 2013 scorecard and the FBI. Yeah, you can see this source right here. Brady campaign 2013 scorecard and the FBI. Oh yeah. Oh, here we go. This is so good. Absolutely zero correlation between Brady score and homicide rate. Great. Yeah, that took 2 seconds to debunk.
Second of all, it's kind of like, now, some people might say this is me being a weak, bleeding heart liberal, but I actually prefer it when public spaces don't have people brandishing or open carrying firearms. That's just my preference. When I go to Walmart or when I go to Taco Bell, I think it's cool when I don't have to shuffle past 6 hogs that are carrying between them $20,000 of tactical gear. I think that's great, you know? I think that's awesome. It's
sure. All right.
It's like not wanting to be around stinky people. Now,
Okay.
I think you have a legal right to be stinky, a constitutional right to be stinky, you know? I'm not fighting against your constitutional right. I'm just saying that when I'm out there in the public space, I don't like being around stinky people. I think you should shower and wear deodorant. That's how I feel about open carry. It seems to me like...
You're making an appeal to one of the senses. In this case, it would be vision or scent. And you're correlating it to an appeal to vision. Appeal to one of the senses being vision. So if there was something about a person in terms of their looks that I didn't like, I could just use the defense of, they're like stinky people. I think you guys know where I'm going with this.
Open carry is kind of like the vestige of the worst recesses of our gun culture, you know? Guns are a tool of escalation of threat, a ubiquitous cultural status enhancer, heavily tied to...
Listen, if you're gonna say small dick because SUV small dick, right? Fine. I've seen the guys that drive those big ass pickup trucks with the 14-inch, with the, the 30-inch lift kit and the 40-inch mud tires, right? I get it. Small dick. I get it. If that's what your argument is here, but that's not what he's talking about. That isn't what he's talking about. Right? He's talking about how you gun make bad
masculinity, and something which is often used with great political bias to implicitly threaten harm.
Implicitly threaten harm.
That to me is...
No, I'm sorry, but if you're using something as a deterrent, that is not implicitly threatening harm. That's not what that is. If I'm saying that if I'm putting up a sign, that the conditional sign that says if X then Y, right? If X then Y, all you have to do to avoid Y is not X. That's it. So no, it's not a threat. It's absolutely not a threat to cause harm, right? It's a conditional threat at the absolute most. It's a statement of condition. like it's not me saying I'm intending to harm you. It's me saying don't harm me. That's it.
Well, it's just not good. And for Kyle Rittenhouse, as a young person, he was 17 when this happened, right? A 17-year-old, to feel it necessary to go on out there and do all of that betrays such an insane cognitive and political bias, such a horrible borderline cult mentality. You know?
He has a cult mentality because somebody came to him and said, hey, night's falling. The riots are going to start up again for the third night in a row. You should probably carry a firearm because people are out. There are mobs out there looking to kill people. And you're a person. Therefore, you should probably protect yourself.
I just, the insane, jarring dissonance, the psychopathy necessary. And I think, by the way, here are 2 arguments. First of all, Kyle Rittenhouse shouldn't have been there and him going there was morally wrong. That's an argument that I believe in. And also, the self-defense claims are probably legitimate. That's also an argument I believe in.
Okay, true. But remember, the thing we're concerned with when it comes to the trial is the self-defense claim. The whole reason Kyle Rittenhouse is a name anyone knows is the self-defense claim. That's it. If there weren't a self-defense claim here, if he just actually did what you described him previously as doing, just hunting down leftists, he'd already be in jail. He'd already be in prison. And this wouldn't be a story at all. At all. But because this is like the dream self-defense case, the dream self-defense scenario, right? Like as a defense attorney in self-defense cases, if that's what you do, this is the shining golden like globe. This is the dream scenario. This is angels singing from above. Oh, and it descends from heaven. This is the self-defense case that self-defense attorneys dream of, where it's so clear cut. Like this is the kind of self-defense case that you talk about in law school, right? As something of a hypothetical, because it's like the most, it's the best self-defense case that law school professors can conceive of. This is the kind of thing where somebody says, "Oh yeah, well that'll never happen." I mean, you're asking too much in the self-defense case, right? Like this is some sort of straw man version of self-defense that just never happens in reality. In reality, self-defense cases are much more gray than this. It's not black and white, right? In reality, if there was something this obvious, this kid wouldn't have even been arrested. That's why we're talking about this, the self-defense case. So, like, yes, as his parent, I'm telling him at 17, don't go. Don't go. I'm telling him that. True. Now I've conceded that point. Now let's move on to the actual things that matter. Now let's move on to the reason we're talking about this in the first case, the self-defense case. This again, it is burying the lead under Mount freaking Everest to even cast the two arguments as being on equivalent ground in terms of their weight when it comes to this conversation. Like, the fact that his parents should not have let him go is something you cover on like the first 2 seconds of this, and that everybody has already agreed to. Everybody agrees to and has already agreed to. And then we move on to the other 99.99999% of what we give a shit about, which is the self-defense case, which is the thing that we're talking about here, that everyone's been talking about. And it's the reason that there is a trial.
I don't think believing those two things makes you inconsistent in any way. I think, though, that if you're trying to argue it was right for Kyle Rittenhouse to be there, you're a fuckhead. Like, you're insanely stupid. Did Kyle Rittenhouse going there achieve anything? No. No violence was prevented, only caused. It was mathematically, objectively.
It was not prevented, it was only caused? Well, let's see. If Kyle Rittenhouse went there and didn't shoot Rosenbaum would have killed him. So how the hell did that not prevent the violence of Rosenbaum killing Rittenhouse? How the hell, if Rosenbaum gets hold of Rittenhouse's firearm and shoots and kills Rittenhouse, how the hell does that not then create more violence? Rittenhouse exhibited unbelievable restraint. Unbelievable, like movies, like the kind of restraint you would expect from somebody in the fucking movies who is not shown, like in the movies in a self-defense case. Like, this is the kind of restraint you're looking for. Unbelievable restraint when it comes to the use of that firearm. I don't know how if Rosenbaum gets hold of that firearm and shoots and kills Rittenhouse, because that's what he was going to do. Absolutely what he was going to do. Undeniably what he was going to do. I don't know how that is a situation where there's, no violence happening, or a situation where you wouldn't expect for more violence to happen as a result. I don't know how you can say objectively there was more violence caused. Well, I mean, there was more violence caused by virtue of the fact that they tried to kill him. That a mob of people tried to kill Kyle Rittenhouse. And they absolutely would have if not for that firearm.
A worse outcome, unless you somehow think that him being there prevented greater violence. I don't know how you'd figure that one out, but him going there obviously made the world a slightly worse place. And the reason he went there is because he's up to the top of the headpan, filled with the kind of delusional far-right militia mind bullshit that is pervasive in a lot of legal. Now, there's a lot of stuff.
What a poisoning of the well. We're going to go into his mind and say him evil, therefore.
His behavior suggests to me that he kind of wanted to kill someone, right? Isn't that a real... His behavior. Okay, so let me get something I can use as a stand-in for a firearm. I don't even know. All right, excuse me, folks. I got to get... Let me get my 3-hole punch, right? So I've got my 3-hole punch, right? I'm running along. I'm running away from you. I'm running away from a guy who's already threatened to kill me, who's been hunting me down all night, who's been chasing me, that I've had to try to hide from, right? He gets to about 5 feet away.
I turn and point my gun at him. I could kill him right there. I could kill him right there. He's 5 feet away from me. He's easy to drop. But I don't. I turn around instead and continue to flee until I get to a point where I'm stuck between two cars. I hear a gunshot go off behind me, knowing that there's a guy behind me who's already intimated that he's going to kill me, who's already acted in a manner that indicates he's going to kill me, I've already pointed the gun at him and said, please stop pursuing me. And he knows I have the gun, knows I've been willing to point it at him, and is still pursuing me. I hear a gunshot go off. I know he's thrown something at me. I turn around and point the gun at him, and he literally lunges at you. He dives at you, right? He jumps at you with his hands out like this, not full on Superman, but clearly that's what's going on. And then when his hand is this far from the end of the barrel of the gun, as charitably as I can give it, right? If it wasn't touching it and already grabbing it, like Kyle claims it was, or he at some point was, at the very most, we're talking about being like this far away from grabbing the end of the barrel of the gun. And then bang, 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 bang. Sorry, bang, 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 bang. That fast. 72 hundredths of a second, he fires 4 shots. 4 shots in 72 hundredths of a second. And then stops firing. And puts his gun down, stays with the victim. Yes, he calls a friend to say, oh my God, I just shot somebody, because he's 17, he's freaking out. It was the first number in his phone. And yes, of course, it's faster to call back, to just go, phone on, swipe to unlock, phone, go. Boom. There, I just redialed. Whatever, it's a scam, it's a spammer. But I could just immediately, boom, call the spammer. Now, this is what I have to do. Pull out the numbers and go 911 dial. That's definitely faster to just call the first number in his phone that shows up. It's the case with my phone. It's the case with every phone I've ever seen in my entire life. That's what actually happened. What the hell? What the hell do you expect the Rittenhouse to have done?
Really common conservative thing. Like, you see this on forums all the time. Like, they
Let's go back just a little bit
about being there in a lot of legal. Now, there's a lot of stuff that I could infer. You know, his behavior suggests to me that he kind of wanted to kill someone, right?
He wanted to kill somebody? Does not firing at somebody who's hunting your ass down after you've pointed the gun at him, after you've made repeated attempts to run away. Does that indicate that he's looking to kill someone? How about when he was running away after they said let's get him, after he shot and killed Rosenbaum? What did he do? Did he stand his ground? Did he stand his ground and say, fuck around and find out? No. He turned around and he ran. Right? And then he tripped over his own 2 feet, fell on the ground, and then they came and attacked him. Right? The footage shows him somebody tries to kick him in the head. Apparently does. Right? And then another person comes to him and grabs his firearm. And it's like 2 or 3 seconds of him grabbing the firearm before Rittenhouse finally pulls the trigger. Is that somebody who wants to kill somebody? And the worst of it all, Grosskreutz. He shoots Grosskreutz in the arm. Sees that Grosskreutz is disarmed, right? Sees that he's disarmed, and then and doesn't shoot. He fires one shot into the bicep, where he's holding the pistol. Stops, puts it on the ground. Gets up, walks away, attempts to turn himself into the police. He could have just shot Gage. He could have just shot him right in the chest and been like, all he's got to do with the gun is go from here to here. Bam, dead. Bam, dead. That quick. That's all he's got to do. And Grosskreutz is dead. But he's not. Instead, Grosskreutz got to take the stand. He's alive. If he was looking to kill people, why didn't he kill Grosskreutz? If that's what he was there to do, to kill people, why didn't he kill Grosskreutz? He could have. Would have been really easy. Really, really easy. But yet, he decided not to kill him.
Right? Isn't that a really common conservative thing? Like, you see this on forums all the time. Like, they fantasize about being there at the protest so one of them can attack them and they can have a legit, like, excuse to shoot or whatever. Now, that's an inference on my part. An inference. I can't know that.
No, it's an unsubstantiated assertion is what it is. And, like, if the left is doing the exact same thing, then it's a completely meaningless one. And they are. Go into Roast City Antifa's page. Go into Public Enemy's page.
That for sure. All I know is that Kyle Rittenhouse does seem to be chock full of that conservative brain rot based on the people he hang out with, the communities that he was a part of, his general behavior. Since
Good
then,
faith.
wasn't he hanging out with Proud Boys after the thing? I don't remember. Was that?
No. Nope. He went to a restaurant, and while he was eating dinner with his family, some people came over to him and said, "I'd like to take a selfie." He had no idea who they are. And it turned out that one of the people that he took a selfie with had a friend who was a Proud Boy. That's the causal link. That's the link.
That's someone else. Was that him who hung? It was? Okay, yeah.
No.
Vibes.
Nope.
He was singing Proud Boy songs? Yeah. So it seems very likely to me that this was at least heavily influenced by this fantasy conservatives have of being given the legal right to kill a person. That doesn't really speak to the self-defense charge that much.
Is that the fantasy conservatives have? Are we acting in good faith here, or are we just poisoning the well?
Because we're talking inferences here, but that is obviously something that we should discourage, That's something that we should avoid.
Uh-huh.
I mean, like underage boys running around because they want to play out a murder fantasy against civil...
And is that what happened? Is that actually what happened? I just described to everybody this situation. Would you describe that as somebody trying to reenact a murder situation? Really? Right? You just said that he acted in self-defense. You just said you don't want to talk about the fact that this is a self-defense case, and then you're poisoning the well by labeling him as a murderer.
Civil rights
Good
protesters
faith.
who they've been told are actually trying to destroy the country. Right?
Because they were.
Why do they want to kill someone?
Because they were. What do you think revolution is? What do you think tear the whole thing down means? What do you think building up? What do you think a sign that says you are now leaving the U.S. is? What do you think barricades around 6 city blocks in Seattle where you're refusing to allow people in and out unless they meet your certain demands for some sort of society that you're trying to build? What do you think that means? Right? What do you think when that Chaz, Chop, whatever it was, exists for the purposes of destroying everything for which this country stands, to create a new place within this country's borders against the will of the people that were already there, with real threat of force and with, in certain cases, actual force? What do you think that is, Vaush? Is that the conservatives being indoctrinated into believe that's what's going to happen, or is that what happened for an entire year in which your side didn't just dismiss, it encouraged?
So bad because perpetual victimhood is the engine that
Listen, you're the guys that invented the lens of victimhood, right? You're the guys that invented it. No one in here has used the word victim in any way. No one is viewing this at all through the lens of victimhood. Everyone is viewing this through the lens of self-defense. And you came right off the bat and said you don't want to talk about that.
Conservatives use to justify the violence that they enact against others. The stuff conservatives fight for and enact, it can only be morally justified to them if they are constantly the victims of a war that they are fighting against. That's why
when entire cities are being burned to the ground and being completely consumed by roaming mobs, what would you call that?
Even with the war on Christmas stuff, they always have to be the besieged honorable ones who then and when they attack, it's retribution, it's self-defense always. Now, of course, in this case, it might legal.
Says the guy who's on the side of microaggressions. What do you think a microaggression is? I call you a dirty name, and therefore I have microaggressed you. So what's the appropriate response to a type of aggression? Aggression. You're the side that's saying speech is violence. Vaush.
Legally actually be self-defense, but I mean in a broader cultural sense, Came out today, was apparently...
In fact, you're the side that is now saying silence is violence. Jesus Christ.
Put out fire the gun, we got in the place to shoot people. I can't believe anything chat says. With respect, Sin Phoenix, not to say that I don't trust you, only that I'm trying to run off the information that I know that I know, that I know that I don't know, and that I don't know that I don't know. I want to keep those all in separate categories. I can't speak much to the legal specifics here, because as I said, I have not watched the trial. The trial doesn't interest me that much. What interests me...
We're talking about Kyle Rittenhouse, and we're not going to talk about the trial, and we're not going to pay attention to the trial, because it doesn't interest me. But I want to talk about Kyle Rittenhouse. The only reason we're talking about this is because it's at trial. Because there is a self-defense case here to talk about. Jesus Christ.
It's a fight against the broader culture that allowed Kyle Rittenhouse to exist. And unfortunately, because people are stupid, because people are unimaginably stupid, a great many people are not going to be able to distinguish between whether or not his killings are written off as self-defense and whether or not...
Written off as self-defense or just are self-defense.
He did was generally morally correct. Conservatives are going to interpret his being let off on...
Like, in what world is self-defense not legally correct? Not morally correct? In what world, what's the opposite of that? If it's morally incorrect to act in self-defense, then it is morally correct to succumb to the mob. He's advocating the non-existence of self-defense from a moral standpoint. We're right back to where he was with his debate with Stephen.
Self-defense as an indication that he was morally in the right, provably morally in the right, to open carry at the BLM protest and all that stuff, all the lies that militia members tell themselves about defending property and all that bullshit.
Because it's not a lie, it's real. Why do you think the castle doctrine exists? Oh yeah, because of the mutually assured destruction principle. Jesus Christ, Vaush. Like, if you're not home, can I burn your house to the ground? Am I allowed to do that? And if I'm pouring gas all over your house and I'm about to strike a match to it, are you allowed to tackle me and say stop doing and take the match out of my hands? That's violence. Are you allowed to do that, Vaush? By your standard, no. So, when I come to your house when you're not home and I burn it to the ground, you get to watch as everything you've built goes up in flames.
It is going to become a rallying cry. It's going to cause a lot more Kyle Rittenhouses. You guys know that, right? Now there are going to be a lot of people thinking...
No. You know what causes a lot more Kyle Rittenhouses? When streets are taken over by mobs and these mobs attack people. That's what happened with Kyle Rittenhouse's case. This is the most clear-cut case of self-defense ever. And that's the story. That's the lead. That's the lead. If you're going to bury the lead, if you're going to hide the story, then first things first, you're just lying about you're just lying. You're just acting in obvious bad faith when you're discussing the situation. When you're discussing the facts of the matter too, which you've gotten so far nothing correct on. What's going to cause more violence is if you keep gaslighting this situation. Your gaslighting is what's doing this. Your gaslighting is what's leading these radicals to believe that they need to destroy Kenosha because there's some sort of system hell-bent on destroying them, which is not true, which is evidently not true. That what's going to cause more violence is you deliberately mischaracterizing this whole situation. You refusing to talk about self-defense and saying that self-defense is morally justifiable, period. When somebody's trying to kill you, the correct action is to prevent them from killing you. Because you are you, right? It's your body, your choice. You absolutely have a built-in, morally prescribed right to defend yourself, to prevent somebody else from killing you. There are certain circumstances where you're going to have to kill them in order to have that happen. Certain pretty rare circumstances. This is the dream version. I have a feeling many years from now, in law room, in law classes, in the classroom, at law schools, this is going to be the go-to for self-defense. I have a feeling that all my law books that are back there's about a half a dozen to a dozen of them back there. When they talk about self-defense, the brief that they're going to bring up, because they all contain like 5 and 6 page briefs, the brief they're going to be bringing up in their case examples is going to be the Rittenhouse trial. That's what they're going to be bringing up. Like, this is the dream situation. This is the dream scenario for self-defense. Right? And in your philosophy, politics, and law courses, PPL courses, right? In your philosophy of law course, this is going to be the modern day go-to for how to build a principled argument in favor of self-defense. Why is it that you are allowed to defend yourself? And of course, your teachers are going to say, if you have a teacher that goes mutually assured destruction, they're just wrong. They're just wrong and morally corrupt. Morally corrupted and morally bankrupt. And anyone who teaches on that really shouldn't be teaching.
Hey, Kyle Rittenhouse got off. Kyle Rittenhouse got self-defense. He's going to be a martyr. And not a martyr, I guess, because he's going to get off. He's going to be a hero, an avenger.
Because he acted in self-defense. If he gets off by virtue of having acted in self-defense, then he acted in self-defense. And that's why he got off. And if people interpret that properly as an act of self-defense, then they will act in self-defense. As in, they won't cause any violence. If violence is caused to them, they will respond in kind, which means all you have to do, if you're Antifa, if you're BLM, if you're a rioter, it's not riot.
Angel. What was he avenging? I don't know. Did the people he killed burn down any buildings? I don't think so.
Oh my God, is that the standard? No, the people he killed were trying to kill him. And it was obvious.
Avenging what? I don't know. But it's going to be an avenging angel situation. A story for the rest of them. And he'll probably run for politics. So we'll see if he causes any copycats or anything like that. We'll see. I have seen some people were spamming this in chat. Shu, as always, finding a way to take a reasonable talking point and making it stupid. People on the TL really trying hard to make Rittenhouse look cringe or whatever. I promise it's okay to say you were wrong. So I saw this and thought, uh-oh, does Shu believe that what Kyle Rittenhouse did was justified?
It's fucking self-defense. Self-defense is its own justification, you moron. You moron. Killing somebody is the broader thing. The justification for killing somebody is self-defense. It is the justification. It is axiom. A equals A here, Ian. A equals A. Self-defense is justified by virtue of the fact that it is a justification. Jesus Christ.
But no, she doesn't. Down in the comment thread, she said, yeah, of course, I think he should have never did what he did, obviously, but he's not on trial for being dumb, he's on trial for murder. So even though it takes a bit of shaking, Shu does distinguish the difference between...
You liked that tweet! You liked that tweet! Oh my God.
The moral rightness of what he did and the legal technicalities of the murder trial, which are two different things. Important to keep that in mind. You were wrong with your takes a few months ago. Which takes? Of course, he is very cringe. That is true. Mathematically proven, even. Very cringe. Nobody's making that distinction, though. It's true. It is going to be a very frustrating cultural talking point sometime. Did you see OmniLib say the Rittenhouse crime was lawful? I don't care. You said he had no case for self-defense. Did I? Now, it's entirely possible I said that, but
You said... Oh my God. If I have time to edit this video, I'm going to edit it. I'm going to do what I can to edit in. I'm probably not going to have time to do it. But, Ian, you said in your debate with OmniLiberal, who is Destiny, you said that he doesn't have a right to self-defense. That was the whole basis of that entire 2-hour-long debate, was your claim that he had no right to self-defense.
I feel like I remember, even back like the day that Rittenhouse killed people, saying that my arguments were mostly moral, but that that whether or not it could actually get off for self-defense is defensible. I did what? I did say he had no case for self-defense?
You absolutely did. That was the entire argument you were making with Destiny. The entire argument.
I was absolutely wrong. You'd have been arguing with Destiny about it. The argument with Destiny happened a few hours after the shooting. What about like the day afterwards? I've never heard you say any other than that legal defense was that self-defense was legally murky. I think I would have said that. I don't trust chat here. I wonder if I'm going to be gaslit here. I actually wonder if I should take a look at like my video from back then. Yeah, I remember talking about morals more so than the legal thing. I'm not a lawyer. Morally, everything that I say is based in true. Hold on. Did I have any videos like titled Rittenhouse? Okay, well, hold on. The debate with Destiny was 1:25. So if I open that and then I switch...
Okay, correction. It wasn't a 2-hour debate. It was an 1 and 25-minute debate. I was wrong.
What about the transcription? Oh, Neptune 32. If I was making claims about self-defense literally within a few hours of the shooting, I don't give a fuck about that. What I mean is like my takes afterwards. Like a day or so afterward. Like if we're going to go like, hey, look, you said a thing that didn't turn out to be true a year ago.
Hold on. Let's do it. Destiny. Vaush. Rittenhouse. Boom.
As opposed...
Okay. This is August 28th. This is a live stream from August 28th, Vaush. August 28th. Let's make this as big as we possibly can. August 28th. The shootings happened just before midnight, August 25th. So you've had a few days to think about this.
Oh, but 363 days ago, you said a thing that has turned out to be true. Like, yeah, it's not very meaningful to me. Wait, where do you find the transcription? I can't find it here. It's not here for this video. Based when Vaush declines to do an Okay Buddy segment for the 5th time this month. Yeah. The best meme was the Nico Cotto avocado edit. Thank you. Rittenhouse recorded weeks before Kenosha saying he wished he had his fucking AR to shoot at people leaving CVS. Prosecutors say, that boy ain't right. Okay, does anyone know? Wait, because I know that if he gets exonerated...
And has absolutely no bearing on the self-defense case. Which, again, is the whole story.
I know that if he gets exonerated on the self-defense stuff, that all the DGGers are going to be like, hey, you said... But because they don't... Even Destiny didn't understand the argument that I was making. For months afterwards, he was saying that, like, a woman being raped couldn't shoot the people raping her. He had no fucking idea what I was saying.
Because that's what you were saying! Because we have to take you at your word, and that's what you were saying! Jesus Christ! And then you doubled down on it on your return to his channel.
But I do want to see if I said back then, Destiny not understand your arguments. Yeah, it's more likely than you might think. What about, I have one other video that has Rittenhouse in the title. Okay, open transcript. If I look for that, okay, I can't find that. It's because Google is conspiring against you. It's really the only explanation that makes any sense. Wait, chat. In the literal video of me debating Destiny, the pinned comment, which was made right after the video's release, says this. I feel like there's a very specific conditional, potentially legitimate take here which defends the Kenosha shooter on the grounds of self-defense, and though I don't agree with it, I acknowledge its existence. Okay? Wait, so even back then I wasn't like, yeah, there's no way this gets self-defense. This is in the pinned comment. I admit the language here is fairly guarded, but like there's been a whole trial since then with evidence that has come out, right? Evidence that I haven't seen because I haven't seen the trial. This is literally the pinned comment under the debate. And then right here was like, my thing was more about the moral behavior and Destiny. Yeah, what? Okay, all right. You goobers.
So after the debate was done, after the debate was posted onto Destiny's channel, you gave a take that was opposite of the one you were making in that video. Opposite of it. And then you double down on the moral elements, that he wasn't acting in self-defense. Why would you have a legally protected right to self-defense if you don't have a right to self-defense? Why would you, Vaush, agree that there is and ought to be a legally protected right to self-defense if you don't have a right to self-defense?
There we go. All charges.
I think, and again, this is the entire crux of this conversation. Is the self-defense case? Does self-defense exist? Because quite frankly, if you're going to argue that this is not an act of self-defense, if his actions weren't justified by the claim of self-defense, the justification is the self-defense. If that's not the case, then there is no self-defense. And what you would actually prescribe, Vaush, what you would prescribe based on your own logic is a removal of the affirmative defense that is self-defense.
Dropped against Vaush, thank you. Yeah, morally wrong, legally murky. Though from the pieces of evidence that I've seen, like for example, the like who raised the gun to shoot this, that, or the other, I don't think it's that legally murky anymore. I do think that he's got a solid case for the self-defense.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I might have to clip this. Vaush finally gets it. Vaush finally says the thing. Unbelievable. Do I have to take something back? I might have to take something back. This is incredible. This is unbelievable. I think I actually have to give Ian some credit. I mean, again, he's finally admitting the volcano erupted after he's already been completely consumed in a tomb of lava. But at least he's finally admitting the volcano erupted. I can't believe this. I genuinely don't. I don't think I've ever seen him do this. Again, I might have to clip this. This is going to be a really long video, I know, when I upload the whole thing. But oh my God, I might have to clip this. This is remarkable. I don't think I've ever seen Vaush be presented with the information, review the information, change his mind from his insane position to the correct one. I don't think I've ever seen that happen.
Very surprised if he was convicted on the murder charges. So we'll see. The homicide. You said Kyle should have put the gun down in the Noita stream / talking to one Destiny fan. Do you still agree with that? I think he should have put the gun down before going to Kenosha. What time? What time period?
Before going to Kenosha, yeah. Okay, so he didn't have a gun when he went to Kenosha. Again, the facts of the case seem to, everyone, I'm doing this whole video because Vaush seems to be bearing the lead and getting all of the facts of the case wrong. And this is why this has become such a polarizing issue, because one side of the aisle is just not adhering to the actual facts. One side of the proverbial political aisle is just lying about the actual events that took place. Right? You could say that A shot B, right? And it was 3 p.m. on a sunny day, and the reason A shot B was because B pulled the gun on A. Those are the facts of the case. I haven't injected any opinion. Let's say A shot B because B pulled a gun on A. But if you're going to lie and say A shot B and B did not have a gun, then how can we take anything you say morally about A and B as in any way meaningful?
I don't remember the specific play-by-play of what happened in Kenosha. You mean when he was on the ground? Did I say he should have dropped the gun after he killed the first guy? Okay, again, I haven't seen the trial, but if I recall correctly, the big sussy behavior here was that, so after the first guy was killed, Rittenhouse like ran. He said like, I think I just killed a guy. He ran for a few minutes, and then the second encounter took place where he shot that other guy, right? And then the other guy got his knee shot, right?
Mhm.
That was what
Arm.
happened.
Arm. Again, not even getting the most basic elements of fact correct. He was shot in the arm. We've all seen the video, like the videos, plural, like 1,000 times. We've all seen the freeze frames, plural, like 1,000 times.
Happened. There was the first one, and the guy threw a bag at him, and then Kyle turned around and shot him, and then he ran off. Arm, not knee. Sorry. So again, like you're asking me to remember from like a year ago, but I think that after the first person that he killed,
I remember.
Wander around open carrying was pretty fucked, right? Again, this isn't a legal argument, but like even if you're acting entirely in self-defense, if you just killed a person, like just continuing, I don't know, like I wonder. He said he was running to the police, but then later he didn't even like engage with the police, or he was like pretty out in the open. I don't know.
Later on, he had his hands above his head, running to the police. Running to the police. They didn't arrest him. He made every effort possible on video to go turn himself in, and they didn't arrest him. And they didn't arrest him. So because they wouldn't arrest him, he went back to Antioch and turned himself in, where he was then arrested. Roughly an hour after the first shooting. And I know everyone's going to come back at me. The shootings happened on August 25th. He didn't turn himself in until August 26th. Yes, the first shooting happened at 11:48 p.m. What's 11:48 p.m.? What is just before midnight plus 1 hour? Retards. And I hope I just said it. I just said I've been holding it in. I've been holding it in for so long. I've been holding it in for so long. I couldn't do it. I couldn't hold it in any longer. Because I'm sorry, but this is the arguments that we're getting from the other side of the proverbial aisle. This is the fact pattern we're getting from the proverbial other side of the aisle, which is not in accordance with actual reality. And you know what? I think my focus might be just a hair out of focus. Let me fix this. Let me get myself to about 9/10 of a meter. Yeah, that's a little bit better. Sorry, folks, that this whole thing's been out of focus a little bit. Yeah. But anyway, the whole reason I'm doing this is because, and there's really no reason to go on any further with this video. We're 18 minutes and 12 seconds into a 21-minute, 46-second video. I'm sure the video, how long am I on my end? I'm an hour and a half in? Yeah. Well, this is the whole point of me doing this, is to show people why the other side of the aisle believes what they believe, because they can't even get the facts of the matter correct. They can't even get the stuff that's undeniably true correct. I don't think, in terms of the material facts of the case, Ian here has put forth anything that's true. I don't think he said anything. He was 0 for 2 right off the bat. The two things he said in the first few seconds of that first video we looked at were just easily verified as false. Easily verified as false. So this, I think, is why what's happening is what's happening. Because the one side of the proverbial aisle is just straight up lying about the fact pattern of the case. And I think that they're doing it for a reason, because they want him, because this whole thing is emblematic of a certain political divide, where Rittenhouse bad because not BLM writer. One side of the proverbial political aisle wants BLM writer to be okay and to be not labeled as writer. One side of the proverbial aisle is calling for revolution, and you can't get that when you have such an emblematic case that just puts the nail in the coffin in terms of their arguments, right? Where, guys with gun bad. Well, if they're acting in self-defense, they're acting in self-defense. So there's a huge part of the proverbial narrative from the left that just gets completely demolished if this winds up being a case of self-defense. And that's why they're coming from, that's from what I can gather of things, the only explanation I can come up with as far as why they're spewing out what they're looking to spew out, and why it is guys like Vaush just don't even want to pay attention to it. They're not interested in the self-defense case. The whole point of this entire conversation is the self-defense case, and they want to look right by it. So I'm sure you guys have seen the burying the lead that's going on. Well, he shouldn't have been there in the first place. Okay, now moving on to the actual self-defense case. Whatever, right? Again, 7 people shot in an elevator, but 1 guy farted in the elevator. And that's what we're going to talk about. Well, we shouldn't have been farting in the elevator. Is that what we're really going to talk about? Is that really what we're going to be talking about? Or are we talking about the 7 guys that got shot up in the elevator? So, I don't know what I wanted to do with this. I just thought it was fun to kind of show. I honestly, I couldn't wait for Ian to come out with his hot garbage when it comes to this case. It's just, I'm picking at low hanging fruit, But my frustrations with the opposite side, with the proverbial other side of the aisle, are just perfectly portrayed right here in these two videos and in this caricature of a human being. So hope you guys have all enjoyed. See you in the next one.